Advanced Grammar Final Exam Unit 12. Daniel David MacKenzie Aberle. What is a clause? A clause is a group of words with at least one subject and one verb that indicates the past, present, or future time. Clauses are independent or dependent. An independent clause, also called a main clause, can stand alone as a complete sentence. Independent clauses, also called main clauses, can stand alone as a complete sentence. Example, you could win the table tennis match if you practice every day. What's written in bold, you could win the table tennis match, stands alone. It is an independent clause, and it doesn't depend on the rest of the sentence. Another example, Jose Canseco played for the Oakland A's baseball team when he was in his 20s. Jose Canseco played for the Oakland A's baseball team, which is in bold, is a complete and independent sentence. Dependent clauses, subordinate clauses, are not independent. They depend on the independent clause in the same sentence to make sense. Examples. If I can borrow my dad's car, we can go to the concert. So the dependent or subordinate clause in this case is written in bold, if I can borrow my dad's car, because by itself, it wouldn't make any sense. So it actually depends on the independent clause, which is we can go to the concert. Another example, if I arrive late, comma, my boss will fire me for good. If I arrive late, if that would stand alone, wouldn't make sense. So it depends on the independent clause, which is my boss will fire me for good. Complex sentences are defined as containing both an independent clause and a dependent clause. In a complex sentence, the main idea is usually in the independent clause. Example, I feel great would be an independent clause because it's a complete sentence. Dependent clause in this case, whenever I swim, because by itself, it's senseless, doesn't make any sense. So it depends on the independent clause, which is I feel great. Another example, I play tennis. That's a complete sentence. It's independent. Dependent clause, only on the weekends, wouldn't make sense by itself. And it depends on the independent clause, which is I play tennis. In complex sentences, the clauses can come in either order. If the dependent clause comes first, we place a comma after it. Examples, dependent clause. Whenever I swim, comma. Independent clause, I feel great. Another example, only on the weekends, which is a dependent clause. Independent clause would be I play tennis, because I play tennis is independent, and only on the weekends, it's a dependent clause because by itself, it doesn't make sense. Adverb clauses are dependent clauses that indicate how, when, where, why, or under what conditions things occur. Adverb clauses may also introduce a contrast. Example, I went home when the show was over. When? So the independent clause would be I went home, and the dependent clause is when the show was over, because that wouldn't make sense by itself. Another example, he dropped out of the swimming competition because he was tired. Because he was tired would be why. that by itself wouldn't make sense. So that would be the dependent clause. They won the race, although they were extremely close. Contrast, although they were extremely close, is the dependent clause because it can't stand by itself. It's not independent, it's dependent, and it depends on they won the race, which is the independent clause. Adverb clauses. Adverb clauses start with subordinating conjunctions, also called subordinating adverbs, which can be either single words or phrases. Example, it began to snow while I was chopping wood. The adverb clause would be while I was chopping wood. Another example, I have to rehearse a lot now that I'm playing in a band. Now that I'm playing in a band would be the adverb clause. Adverb clauses sometimes come inside independent clauses. Examples, her talent as a singer when she got into college was remarkable. When she got into college would be your adverb clause, and it's inside the independent clause. The independent clause in this case would be her talent as a singer was remarkable. Another example, her ability to dance salsa when she got into high school was extraordinary. When she got into high school would be your adverb clause. Your independent clause, which actually surrounds the adverb clause, is her ability to dance salsa was extraordinary. Adverb clauses indicate when something occurs. They are introduced as after as soon as, before, by the time, once, since, until, or till, when, whenever, while, etc. Examples. The swimming pool competition will begin as soon as the participants are ready. As soon as the participants are ready would be your adverb clause of time. We always drink a Calistoga before we start the show. Before we start the show is your adverb clause of time. The word before is an indicator of time. Once means starting from the moment something happens. Examples. She'll earn a good pay once she starts her new job. Once she starts her new job is the adverb clause of time. A resident doctor will earn a good salary once he begins his new job at the hospital. Once he begins his new job at the hospital is also an adverb clause of time. An indicator would be the word once, because that's indicating time. Be careful. In complex sentences, do not use will and be going to the dependent clause in the dependent clause to show future time. Example, will leave when he gets here, not will leave when he will get here. Adverb clauses of place indicates where something happens. They are introduced by anywhere, everywhere, where, wherever, etc. Examples. In Brazil, soccer is played where there are large stadiums. Where there are large stadiums is an adverb clause of place. Professional baseball players are popular wherever they go. Wherever they go is also an adverb clause of place. Bibliography. And thank you very much for coming to my presentation.